Hey everyone, I want to thank you for coming to this webinar today. I hope all is well with you. A couple of ground rules before we get to know each other and get started. Just want to let you know this webinar is being recorded and it's going to be shared with others who couldn't participate today. And also, we want to ask you to mute your microphones until you're ready to ask questions to reduce the noise. And also want to let you know ahead of time that we're just going to go through a short slide deck. I don't want to over inform you or bore you. And just want to give you enough information to prime you for questions. You can also put your questions in the chat box, and Carla is going to be monitoring those. And we'll save those to the end so you're able to put those in there so you don't forget. At any rate, we're going to get started. And Carla, you can go ahead and hit the record button. So watch your language, watch your behavior, you guys out there. Thanks for showing up. My name is Robert Smith, by the way, and a part of the group at St. John's Hearing Institute. And we're thankful that you showed up to share an important topic with us and our patients, cognitive decline, and how hearing loss has a major influence and impact, whether you let it go or whether you treat it. It has two different types of impacts, and we want to talk about that. So the first slide is just to show you where this study, this very short slide deck, comes from, the Achieve Healthy Aging study. And on this next slide, you're going to see that it's just simply a landmark study of the effect of hearing intervention, i.e. using hearing devices, cochlear implants, and other peripheral support on brain health in older adults. And so what is Achieve? It's a group of, oh my gosh, some of the greatest minds in hearing, in science and medicine, practicing medicine and research. And it's a large scale randomized study. And it really sets out to find that if treating hearing loss in older adults could possibly reduce the loss of thinking and memory abilities, i.e. cognitive decline, that can precede dementia, full-blown diagnosed prevention, dementia. And so what we're going to do is go ahead and go to the next slide. There, I'm just showing you this because I want you to see there are just, guys, some of the greatest minds in the hearing health world in our country. And particularly this first group, Johns Hopkins University, Frank Lin and Joseph Korish. Frank Lin in particular is probably the greatest go-to person in hearing loss, hearing devices, cochlear implants, outcomes, and he's just a genius. And also, you'll see people from the University of North Carolina, Wake Forest, the Mind Center at the Mississippi Medical Center, University of Minnesota, also another research area of Johns Hopkins. On the next slide, you're going to see a continuation of names from the University of South Florida, University of Pittsburgh, Mayo Clinic, and the list goes on and on and on about people who contribute. So on the next slide, we're going to see, just want to show you two people that we admire greatly, particularly Frank Lin. We've watched over the years since early in the 2000s. He's been putting out research and findings on how hearing loss affects cognitive decline, falling, and just mental and emotional health. So as we roll on to the next slide, this is going to be a core finding, topic, discussion that hopefully we're going to have today. And hopefully it's going to be a discussion by the questions that you ask. And this is so significant because it's a finding as opposed to just a theory or a hypothesis. And so I know that the medical minds and research minds love to use the word may, could, but we know, those of us who are out in the field, in the trenches with these amazing patients of ours, we see these things every day. And while we don't have documented office chart notes that we can share with you with conclusive findings, you just know that what's in front of your eyes is real, and you hurt for these people who are going through these barriers of treating and taking care of themselves. And so just simply, the ACHIEVE study found that in older adults at increased risk for cognitive decline, hearing intervention, hearing devices and such, and cochlear implants slowed down the loss of thinking and memory abilities by 48% over 3 years. Now, simply said, intervening, helping, treating a hearing loss slowed down cognitive decline by 48%. It's actually a measurable factor over 3 years. That's not a real long period of time. And that's a substantial number. And that's a substantial contribution that we can make to people that have hearing loss and need help. So there's all these people out there. And I do want to back up and say our practice serves primarily the 80 to 107-year-old market, primarily in retirement community and in private homes, those who are aging in place, those who want to thrive in this season of their life. And we actually get to see, it's a privilege, we get to see transformation from this strained face of where these people are at with untreated hearing loss, trying to figure out what to do, mostly with bad information, trying to figure out what they could and what they should do, because the majority of them hear from friends, neighbors, and anyone who cares to share an opinion, hearing aids don't work and they cost a whole lot of money. So why should these people step outside their home and go forward and get the help? And I think this study and many others answer that question. So we're going to go to the next slide and share a few more things. So what are the implications? Well, hearing loss, here's that word again that researchers and the medical community love to use, suggest that hearing loss might be a particularly important global public health target for dementia prevention efforts. I'm going to change that. And I'm going to say, where we live in our practice and our patients take suggest and might out of it, we see transformation. And I'll go back to their words. Hearing loss is highly prevalent in adults age 70 years and older and is treatable with an established intervention, hearing aids and related support services, and that it is underused and confers essentially no medical risk. I want to slow down and back up, you guys, because this is good news. We know that people over 70 years old have a high incidence rate of hearing loss. More have hearing loss than don't. And it's treatable. That's hope. It is treatable. People can get help the majority of the time. And from hearing aids, cochlear implants, and it's underused, meaning we're not doing a great job, in my opinion. This is my opinion. It's not the truth, but my opinion is that it's underused. We are doing, in my opinion, a poor job of really saturating this market with the help that people desperately need over 70 years old. And here's another piece of good news. There's essentially no medical risk. Now, what drug out there are you taking right now that doesn't have a litany of side effects and known risk that are involved with it? Those of you that have or had or have someone in your circle that has cancer, oh my gosh, diabetes, you name it, heart risk. All of these medications usually come with a litany of warning because there are risks involved. But the word again, essentially, no medical risk. In 40 years of practice, I have not seen medical contraindication to anyone that we have fit with hearing devices successfully. No negative outcome. That's just in our own world. So results is that hearing intervention can, I love this, they're bold, can reduce cognitive change within 3 years. So they take this group They walk with them for 3 years, they intervene, they fit them with hearing devices, and they find, compared to people who are not suffering hearing loss and others that are going through the cognitive decline naturally, compared to what they know as a natural decline, these folks are significantly different. They're seeing significant difference in their own current life and the way they're able to hear and communicate better because they can hear well, they can respond well as 3 years down the road, their cognitive change or cognitive decline has a measured ability to not have lost so much. They measured at 48%. So we're going to go to the next slide. And the Lancet study shows that I've got to move your faces here out of the way. Sorry about that. The Lancet study reported that hearing loss is prevalent. It exists in 65% of adults over 60 years old. In our market, another statistic I could give you is about 80% of the folks we meet that are over 80 years old have a hearing loss. And in retirement community, about 30% of them have done something about it, hearing devices or cochlear implants. Now, they identify it as a key risk factor of interest. Hearing loss as being the single largest potentially modifiable risk factor for dementia. Now, there are other study that reports 14 other health comorbidities that have influence factors over dementia, over cognitive decline. Most reports report back that hearing loss is the number one most influential over cognitive decline. Incredible. And I want to go back and read these words, are so important. And I'm going to take a break. Is it okay, Carla, to take a break in the middle of this? Okay, thank you. So many times, let's go back over the words. Hearing loss is reported as one of the single largest potentially modifiable risk factors for dementia. Modifiable. We can do something about it. And that's the thing that we want to emphasize here. When we do nothing, we're typically going to decline in life. And I don't know if your mom or dad or grandparents ever told you use it or lose it, but it definitely applies. It's not just a wives' tale, but hearing loss and degraded peripheral sound encoding could affect cognitive decline, and dementia risk include effects of hearing loss on cognitive load, brain structure, and reduced engagement in social and cognitively stimulating activities. Bottom line is when I can't take in the world accurately into my brain with a sense of hearing, I can't respond to the world accordingly. Think about that. Put yourself in those shoes. If I couldn't hear well what others are saying, maybe I had to read their lips, and still I'm going to miss things that are being said that my brain, the encoding that my brain needs to make sense out of sound, then I'm not going to be able to respond well to the world, social engagements, activities, my provider visits. I'm not going to remember what my provider tells me to do to take care of my diabetes or my heart disease, if in fact I could not hear him or her clearly. And I'm going to go out back into the world. I'm going to make more mistakes. And I believe it has a snowball compounding effect. It's a heavy weight to carry. So these pathways might be modifiable with existing interventions for hearing loss that remain underused. And so we already have these interventions in our pocket. They work extremely well today, but only 25% of the general public has stepped forward and said, I want help. I want to be treated. So statistically, they report 20 to 30% in high income countries. That means ours, the United States of America, the high income country. 20 to 30%, and everything I read is about 25% of the people in our country with hearing loss have hearing aids or other cognitive amplified devices that help. So let's go to the next slide. More key findings. More and more is coming out. There's so many studies, you guys. Some we're going to share later with you in an email, and I hope you take the time to read them. I hope you take the time to not believe me and what I say. I hope you take the time to dig into these reports yourself, because there's much, much more in there than I can possibly give you in 15 minutes. And so coming soon is research into social isolation and loneliness, depression, and health-related quality of life. You're going to find, as these studies come out, and there are many that are already out, that those who have hearing loss suffer great loss of social isolation and loneliness, and it has a compounding effect on cognitive decline. You're also going to find out physical function, and particularly falls is a really big deal as we age. 1 in 3 people over 65 is going to fall this year. Incredible impact on health from then on, and the odds are incredible. I can't remember the statistic, but well over half the people who fall the first time over 65 are going to fall again. Typically, there's no intervention. Hearing loss has a major influence on falls. Let's go to the next slide. So one thing I want to point out is I hope and I pray that this isn't some type of commercial. And what this research doesn't say or suggest is that hearing devices are a magic cure for dementia. Absolutely not. But what it does say on the next slide is that what this research does say clearly, and much, much, much more supporting evidence, that hearing intervention, especially when it's early is always better, that hearing intervention provides hope to slow down the loss of thinking and memory abilities, which is cognitive decline, which leads to dementia. So on this next slide, we just want to have a reminder here to myself that Carla, who is on this production, is going to email this study out, so you have the link. And I hope and I pray that you dig in there yourself and uncover. There's much more there, as well as we're going to send you other studies and articles about hearing loss and the effects that it has on cognitive decline, as well as social, emotional, and other health issues. So important. And you know what? It's going to come from my email. I'm not great about checking my email. I'm going to tell you that ahead of time, but it's going to come from my email, I believe. No, it's actually going to come out of Carla's, I believe. She checks her email. Let's just be transparent. And I want to tell on myself. But if you have a question or you need a follow through, please reply back. We're going to get to you at some point, usually within a day. If we don't, email us again. And Carla loves repetitive emails, don't you, Carla? Yeah, I thought so. So go to the next slide. So we want to give you a call to action, guys. All this information is great, but if all you do is sit on your couch, you're not going to get the help you need. Or that person that you're watching for, maybe you're the son or daughter of a person that has a hearing loss that really needs help. Or maybe you're a staff member at a retirement community that we go to or don't go to. The call to action is this: we'll be glad to clean your ears. It always starts with clean ears. If your ears are impacted, not only is it going to affect your hearing, but it's also going to affect your balance. So call the number on the screen. You're going to talk to an amazing person named Hazel, and we're going to find a way to have your ears cleaned and your hearing screened at no charge. From there, hopefully we'll be able to guide you that things are okay, or you need to follow through with more diagnostics. And now we're going to open it up to you for questions. Carla, do you have anyone in the chat box that wants to ask a question? We'll take a look at there first before we open it up to the group.
No questions so far.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
No questions so far.
All right. All right, we can edit the misspeaks out, surely. And all right, let's take the recording off. Hey, wait. Hey, you guys, I want to thank you for tuning in today. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. And please respond by email if you have any questions that we haven't answered, because an unmet needs of a hearing loss are typically going to cause a greater incline on the fall, not only cognitively, but physical falls, as well as social emotional issues that come along with hearing loss, as well as lost relationships, because you might shy away from engaging in social activity. You guys take care. God bless you, and I hope to see you on the next seminar. Bye-bye.